And this extraordinary evening is at the halfway point. An extraordinary all-concerto evening with Itzhak Perlman and the New York Philharmonic.
School in the country. First located in the Bowery, Wall Street area of Lower Manhattan, it has had 15 homes since it was founded in 1633. Mr. Perlman visited the school at the invitation of a group of students.
So, first victim.
A group that happened to include Mr. Perlman's 13-year-old son, Noah.
Never heard good morning that way before. Yes.
Okay. When you were young, who inspired you first to play the
violin? When I was young, I heard, I think the first violinist I heard on the radio that I can remember was Jascha Heifetz. And that was enough of an inspiration. Obviously, you always have idols, and particularly when you really learn to recognize them, like when I was 13, 14, 15, that's when I really started to have idols very, very seriously. Heroes, Heifetz, Stern, Oistrakh, Fritz Kreisler, Nathan Milstein, and so on. And every time you have these idols, you sort of try to play more or less like they do. At least you try to imitate for a while. And that's usually, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing that if you do it for a couple of weeks and then it goes away. It's a bad thing if it stays with you forever. But it's very, very important because hero worship in music is quite necessary, and hopefully you get something of your own. Yes?
What do you think would have happened if, when you first starting out, instead of having a violin put in your hands, you'd had, say, a trumpet or an oboe? Would you have achieved the same level, do you think, or do you think we're just made to be a violinist?
I don't really know. In Israel, there's never a chance that anybody put an oboe in your mouth. Are you kidding? Can you imagine the Jewish mother comes to her son and says, "Oh, dear, here is an oboe, play the oboe." What is this? And even worse, a trumpet. You know, oboe maybe, but a trumpet?
do you think, so it was bad examples, but do you think that you couldn't be anything but a violinist? And
well, okay, all right.
Or some great trumpet player, if it was an accident that he was a trumpet player instead of a violinist?
Well, okay, look, musically speaking, I could probably be a fairly good musician on any instrument if I could play it, if I had the talent to play the instrument. There has got to be a dual talent there. There's got to be a real musical understanding and a musical mind, as well as real capability. If I don't have good lips, I won't be able to play the trumpet and do whatever I want to do musically. So it really is hard to really say if I was given another instrument, if I would be good. You know, we would have to see if I have a talent for it, for the actual physical playing of it. Yes.
Do you find it helps to approach a piece of music historically, such as studying the composer or the background to a piece of music?
Absolutely. It's very important to approach a piece of music historically. It's very important to know what the composer was doing during the time, whether it was a late piece or an early piece of the composer, what help that composer had during the writing of the music. Was the composer helped by a fiddle player? Was the composer a violinist himself or not? For example, the Brahms Violin Concerto, he got an awful lot of help from Joachim, the violinist, and it was very, very important in writing the piece, you know, I mean, because sometimes, you know, you can have fantastic ideas and it just doesn't make sense on the violin. Yeah.
Yes. Which composers do you find the most emotionally challenging?
Emotionally challenging. The composers which are the most emotionally challenging are the musically are the ones that you really can't hide behind as far as with emotion. In other words, with a sweep. Brahms, Tchaikovsky, you know, that's in some ways that's easy. You know, you can just go, you know, and you know, the music hugs you. But when you talk about the classics, the classical composers, when you talk about Mozart, and we talk about Bach, when we talk about Beethoven, or Haydn, there is a purity in the music, and therefore you really have to, it's no longer just a raw emotional element that you put in the music, but you have to really think about how it's constructed. Timing, the phrasing, you know, where do you put a phrase, when do you start a phrase, the relationship between sound and no sound. The whole thing it's like it's like a map that you have to really look into it. You can't just go spontaneously and instinctively and just give it all you have and devil may care. Here you really have to think about it, and at the same time figuring it out, you have to give it an emotional sort of. So for me, that is a challenge. The classical composers, for me, that's a true challenge, and I feel that very, very few people can really do it successfully. I'm working very hard on it. Yes.
How do you feel about the commercialism in the arts these days, and do you think that it leads to any kinds of sacrifice in artistic quality?
Okay. Commercialism in the arts. Can you be more specific?
Okay. Well, things like fur coats and American Express cars, and then going...
I don't own a fur coat. I'm sorry.
Fitting in that advertising for those and going outside of the arts to find publicity, and then going beyond that into a lot of publicity on how certain artists seem to give their most when they're going to be on television because that has the wider audience.
Yes. Well, I don't own a fur coat, and I do not give my most for television only. No, I tell you, I feel that television has been phenomenal for the arts, absolutely phenomenal, that it has brought the arts to so many millions of people that would otherwise not not know the experience. You're talking about opera, you're talking about ballet, you're talking about concerts. It is, I think that in the last 5 years and in the next 5 years will be probably called a sort of like a golden age in the arts in the United States. And I think that's basically because of television. Now, when it comes to commercials, you may have seen my commercial on American Express. I did play Beethoven there, and so as a result, I have to now play in Kalamazoo, because I mentioned that I brought Beethoven to Kalamazoo. So the next day they called me up and said, "So when is he coming?" But it does, you know, whenever I'm in an airport or something, and a porter or a bus driver comes to you and says, "Hey!" like this. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, and maybe that same fellow who goes like this, and if he sees me on PBS playing a concerto, maybe he'll stay and listen, and maybe someone will go and come to the concert. In San Francisco again, there was a couple of people who came to my concert and said, "This is the first time I've ever been to a concert. I really enjoyed it." Well, I feel that it may be very, very small percentage, but it is, I think, serves an important part in building up audiences, or at least building a different kind of an audience. Yes?
When you're performing in front of a large number of people, do you try and just wipe from your mind the fact that there are all these people out there? Or do you try and take what they're giving you and benefit from the fact that you have a large audience in front of you?
Well, I'll tell you, what I try and wipe from my mind is the empty seats, if there are any. No, I like a large, you know, it's so intimate, you know, to have 4,000 to 5,000 people with you. So wonderful. No, I like to play for an audience. I feel an audience is a very important part of performing. It's who do you communicate to if there's no audience? And that's why what happens is that in a recording studio, I find it's a real tough time to readjust, because you play for 2 mics, and those microphones they're great critics. You know, they hear everything. But an audience, I find, is a great help to me. Like it. Yes.
Have you ever felt nervous during or before a performance? Right now, I mean, even though you're a professional, do you still feel nervous?
Yes. Sometimes I'm not really nervous. I'm only nervous when I have a memory slip. Oh boy, am I nervous. And that's when my real creative powers are at work, you know. I write new music. On the spot, I write it. Not always very good. So that's the kind of nervousness they have. But it's not nervous, you know, like shaking, everything like that. Yes?
Do you feel that at this stage of your career, you're still improving?
I hope so. I feel that if I will not improve, at least grow as I get older. Oh God, I hate that as I get older. That you never, I think in music you never stay at the same place. You cannot stay in the same place. You either go back or you go forward. There's no such thing as being the same. Because if you're being the same, then that means you're not growing. If you're not growing and you're not recreating anything new, it's no good. You have to really constantly try and think. And I hope that I'm doing it. I know that at least I like what I do now better than what I did 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, particularly if I listen to recordings. Sometimes I listen to a record I did about 12, 13 years ago, and I said, gee, did I play that way? Well, it was all right, but I mean, I would never play it like this today. So I feel that's a good sign. I mean, it's very depressing when you hear it, but it's a good sign at least they have a different point of view about your music.
I'm going to play it all?
This way. Am I going to play? No. No. Oh. Well, I'll take the fiddle out if you want me to. Now, oh my goodness, you want to see my family here? Okay, let me see what I got here. Oh, got my yarmulke. Oh, no. No, that's not the fiddle. Oh, here it is. Okay. Anyway, now I can talk with my fiddle in my hand. Now that'll make everybody more comfortable, huh? Right? So, wait a minute, there's wait a minute, over there, yes.
Well, based on your own experience, do you think that being a good musician is kind of a gift, or is it just a lot of practice? I mean, do you find that you can just sit down and just make music because you have a gift?
Very good question. I think part of it is true, and I think part of it is not. I think that to be able to understand, to be able to play what you feel, partially is a gift. To sort of translate what you feel into this language is partially a gift. But you also have to be able to know what the hell you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, all the gift in the world is not going to help you out. In other words, that your instinct will take over, and by accident you'll play something very, very well. But you really want to know what you're doing. And obviously, if you have a gift, it helps you do that easier. Okay, I have one last question, and then we have to wrap it up, because let me see.
So why is there so little new classical music?
Well, there's no more classical music. It's finished. It's now it's contemporary music. I mean, no more classical. No, it's finished. In other words, right now it's what people are writing today, and maybe one day this will be called late classical, or classical of the 80s. Can you imagine they're listening to the radio? And now for hits of the 80s. Terrific. No, come on. But there is definitely now the pendulum is going towards, a lot of people are now, contemporary composers are writing a bit more lyrically than they used to. They don't feel that they should be that sort of a percussive and detached kind of quality to the music. Some good stuff is being written, and we're going to see what's going to last. A lot of the stuff that we consider today great was considered terrible. If you heard the reviews that the Tchaikovsky concerto received, the violin concerto, when it first was performed, the critic says that the violin is beaten black and blue because it has things like, that's beaten black and blue, But it's all a question of what people were used to listening to at that time. So maybe today all the synthesizers and electronic music and all of that stuff would sound absolutely passé for people in 25 or 30 years from now. You never know. Okay, thank you very, very much. Some of the questions were good, but some were terrific. So, so I want to really thank you very, very much for coming here.